What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we've got a lot of really cool things to discuss about Destiny 2 and mainly some details of the final game that's started to come out, and a lot of hinting at secrets that we know are being kept very quiet by Bungie so far. This is all coming from Edge magazine, who actually played Destiny 2 at Bungie for a couple of days for an article, and the article was posted on the internet a bit early by someone called Kapowers, so it's thanks to them we have all this information. A lot of the main details have already come out, but in this video I want to focus on a lot of cool little things that you might have missed or not known about. So firstly, let's discuss the Hunters, and apparently a big secret to do with them that I think personally could be referencing the third Void subclass. So they mentioned how the bulk of the internet thinks right now the Hunters lack utility and also a clear role in their team, which you can definitely agree a lot of people, including myself as a Hunter, also agrees that the Hunters are a little bit lacking, and even especially in terms of team play and being able to contribute towards a team to help out, I think Hunters could definitely do with some kind of improvement on that aspect. Now, in response to this, Luke Smith from Bungie mentioned how the Golden Gun has a perk that generates orbs for your entire team, which is definitely true, and also there's something else for the Hunter they asked not to spoil and not to mention, but they say everything is going to be fine. And just to clarify, when he says that, this is in reference to the opinion that Hunters aren't right now very helpful to the team and they lack utility, so there is some kind of Hunter secret or aspect we don't know about that you don't want to spoil, and whatever it is, it means Hunters are actually going to be a good help towards their team. Now, if you ask me, I definitely think this is a reference towards the Hunter's Secret Void subclass, and them saying it has a lot of team utility, which would make sense, because the Night Stalker was exactly that in Destiny 1. So I feel like this could be them saying, don't worry about the Hunter not being useful to a team, the Void subclass has that covered. Obviously, that's just my speculation and guessing, but let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What do you think this big Hunter secret is that you don't want to spoil? But in my eyes, there's no way they aren't talking about this third subclass here. This obviously isn't in reference to some kind of change to existing classes like the Arc Strider or Gunslinger or some kind of new perk, because we already know that stuff. So the way I see it, Bungie seem very confident that the Gunslinger and Arc Strider aren't very team orientated, but obviously they're very confident because they know the third one is going to fill that exact gap. So again, that's just my very hopeful and optimistic thoughts, but I do think this third subclass is going to fill the gap of Hunters lacking team utility. So the next thing that caught my eye from this article was something else Edge said, which was there's lots of things we can't talk about. One day ask us about the Magician, which is obviously a very vague tease about one of those things that Bungie is keeping a secret for now. I've got literally no clue what the Magician could be a reference to. I think you guys' guess is as good as mine, but I don't think the term Magician has ever existed in Destiny before. It doesn't sound at all familiar, but it does sound a bit like a character to me, possibly like a Xur type person. Could be an exotic weapon, who knows, but I feel like it's either a character or an item. That's another thing we'll have to wait and see about in the full game. Now, on the topic of cooldowns, they said how the cooldowns in the nearly final build that they played were much quicker compared to the beta. They also mentioned an exotic chest piece for the Warlock that you get given at a low level. Now, its perk lets you hover in air while aiming down sight, so basically the old Angel of Light perk on the Sunsinger. And when you combine that with the perk that already comes with the Dawnblade, the perk that gives you more grenade energy from airborne kills, apparently you can get a full grenade from only 4 or 5 kills, which is actually pretty good. Now, it is a bit disappointing that you get given an exotic under level 10, and the perk isn't crazily exciting either. I mean, Angel of Light was kind of a joke perk in Destiny 1, nobody used it. Definitely one of the least used perks for Sunsinger, but to be fair, combining it with that grenade perk does sound decent. But I think as we've come to expect, exotics aren't going to be that incredibly rare or special in Destiny 2. Now, they didn't give the name of this exotic or describe what it looks like, but I'm pretty sure it will be this thing we've seen many times before. Definitely one of the best looking exotics, because it does have wings. The first time I saw it, I thought this will definitely have something to do with being in air or flying, but it sounds like this could be the same exotic they were describing. So next up, on the topic of activities, some of them are going to lock your loadouts, which we've heard about before, preventing you from changing your weapons or subclasses after you load into a mission. And interesting they use the term mission there, but I doubt personally this is going to be inside the raid, and I don't think it's going to make you start over. Ever since Luke mentioned this feature like months ago, I've seen a lot of people worrying that you might get to the end of a raid and realize you don't have the right subclass or weapons and you won't be able to change them and you won't be able to beat the boss, but I don't think this is ever going to happen. There is no way Bungie would design a raid like that, and I don't even think it sounds like the locked loadouts will even be in the raid for the first place by the sounds of it. It's apparently in certain missions and maybe some Nightfalls too, but it doesn't sound like they're going to be inside raids. Now, on the topic of Nightfalls, apparently these sometimes have timers on them, so 13 minutes is an example, but interesting you can't just like hide and wait it out. It's definitely going to be pushing you for time. 13 minutes for a Nightfall does seem a little bit quick. I mean, if you think of the Inverted Spire, that strike took at least like 15 minutes. That was a very long one, even though we don't have that great weapons. But imagine that as a Nightfall with really difficult enemies. Trying to do that in 13 minutes or maybe 15 or 10, it sounds pretty restricting, so definitely going to be a little bit of a challenge. Kind of like how back in the old days you get booted to your orbit if you fail. Now, something else I thought was pretty interesting mentioned by Mark Noseworthy on the topic of frame rates and consoles, and at one point he said, could we make Destiny 2 run at 60 FPS on the consoles? And he said yes, but the spaces would be smaller, it would be less cooperative, there would be fewer monsters to shoot, which isn't the game they want to make. So pretty interesting to hear from them, something we obviously thought would be the case, but they could definitely make Destiny 2 run at 60 FPS. They would definitely have to scale back how the game looks, and also the kind of stuff inside the worlds and how much stuff is going on at once. So next up, let's talk about the campaign, which Edge have played the entirety of. They have played and completed the entire campaign from start to finish over their 2 days at Bungie Studios, which apparently was quite long, with over like 80 plus missions, including obviously adventures and side quests and the other stuff, not just campaign missions. So there's going to be about 80 plus activities. Now, Luke Smith said for many, the worst thing about Destiny 1 was the story, if you can call it that, and Destiny 2's story is not only entertaining, but actually makes sense from beginning to end. Now, something I found really interesting and cool to know is that Ghoul's intentions are going to be clearly explained early on in the campaign. So there's a cutscene between Ghoul and his Console, a lifelong friend of his, and obviously his mentor as well. And of course, we also know that Console does have a voice actor, so he's going to be speaking English inside the game, talking to Ghoul, and he's going to be a present character inside Destiny 2. So now we get into very slight spoiler territory, because they do talk about the campaign briefly, but the spoilers honestly aren't that bad. They don't give away major plot details or surprises. It's basically stuff we already know and have seen in trailers, but a little bit more detail. But jumping into the info, they said, once you're kicked off of Ghoul's ship, you'll end up in the European dead zone with no weapons or powers, and you slowly start to stagger and walk. For a while, it's almost like playing a different game. So powerless, you have to walk all the way to the farm, try not to fall to your death, because you can't jump. And then you meet Hawthorne, who is very sarcastic. She tells you about the Shard of the Traveler that fell during the attack, and also teaches you how to get weapons, basically regain your powers, and also reunite the Vanguard. Now, the final boss in Destiny 2's campaign is apparently Shapeshifting. He doesn't relentlessly shoot at you or send loads of ads at you, but instead does enough to ensure that you're constantly moving around and thinking under his threat. Now, his health bar does go down pretty quickly when you shoot him, but the real battle is making the opportunity to actually do so, finding gaps in his attacks, and also backup troops. So the only giveaway inside that is that the final boss is going to be a he, so most likely Ghoul or the Console. But I don't really see Ghoul to be a shapeshifter, to be honest. It sounds a bit like Console to me. I get the feeling that he isn't even Cabal, like he might even be some weird species with magical powers. But I can't really imagine Ghoul shapeshifting and doing magical attacks. He seems like he would just be using brute force like the Cabal normally do. So I'm thinking Console could be the final boss in the campaign and Ghoul might be the raid boss. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. As always, if you enjoyed the video and found it informative, a like rating would be much appreciated. Of course, make sure you are staying tuned for many more Destiny 2 videos right here on the channel. Not too long away now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.